fellow South Africans, I'm addressing you this evening.
All your years of paying tax, you helped us overcome our darkest hour. You, along with every other loyal taxpayer, helped build this nation. Thank you for every life you saved and for every risk you braved, for giving our future generation a healthy start. When you saw many of our vulnerable communities, you provided for them. When you saw our healthcare workers on the front lines battling COVID, you rose to the occasion and gave them the tools to save lives. Without your tax compliance, we wouldn't be able to fight a good fight. Thank you for contributing to the important services our vulnerable communities rely on every day. To all taxpayers and traders, continue to pay your tax because it matters to millions of South Africans who depend on it. Your tax matters.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our webinar on third-party appointments and employer reconciliations. My name is Jessica Dankuru, an ops specialist within the Authorized Economic Operators Division and a member of the SARS Junior Board. I will be the program director for this webinar. Tonight, we will be sharing with you what third-party appointments entail and providing information on employer reconciliations that will hopefully assist employers to comply with their tax obligations. I hope that you'll enjoy your time with us and that this webinar will provide the guidance and understanding that you require on the topic. Before we proceed with the program, please note the following. The webinar is live on two platforms, Zoom and on our SARS TV YouTube channel. Please note that the Zoom platform can only accommodate a limited number of attendees. Therefore, the overflow will be directed to the YouTube channel. Our program is divided into two parts. The first session will be presentations by SARS experts on the third-party appointments and employer reconciliations, as well as the easy file and e-filing process. In our second session, we will have the Q&A session by a panel of experts for the questions received. Please post your questions either in the Q&A section or email them to us at employerquestions@sars.gov.za. This email address will only be available for the duration of the webinar. Due to the POPI Act, please do not post any personal information when asking your question. You will be prompted to complete a short survey at the end of the program. Please complete the survey and provide as much detail as possible. We would like to receive your feedback on your experience with this webinar and quality of the information shared. We will attempt to answer as many questions as possible, either through the live Q&A, a panelist lecture during the webinar, or on the SARS website under the frequently asked questions. If you happen to experience load shedding, worry not. The webinar is live and can be viewed on our YouTube channel. In addition to this, the recording of the webinar will be uploaded session. The presentations will be made available on the SARS website at the end of the webinar. Once again, the email address is employerquestions@sars.gov.za. To kickstart our program, help me welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Phuthi. Phuthi Mbai has 6 years of experience within the SARS debt management area. He is currently the National Manager for Automated Debt in the Specialized Debt and Outstanding Returns Division. Phuthi has been with the Automated Debt Portfolio since 2012, and he was instrumental in the formation and consenting of the national and provincial departments to the personal programmatic third-party appointments process and implementation. Phuthi holds qualifications in business management, financial management, and strategy from the Regency's School of Business and the Gordon Institute of Business Science. Mr. Mbai, over to you.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Jessica. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our webinar. Mine really is just to, again, welcome you like Jessica, but most importantly, to just inform you that all this is as a result of the engagements that we had recently and previously, but most importantly, as an organization, we felt it important that we should take a step towards supporting, our taxpayers, in this instance, employers, educating you guys, and most importantly, giving you the necessary assistance in ensuring that the systems that we are expecting you to utilize, you know exactly how to utilize them as end users, and you find joy out of utilizing those systems. And with these few words, I'm going to hand over to our program director to carry on with the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mbai, for the wonderful welcome address. Aligned to our strategic objectives, SARS recognizes the importance of providing taxpayers and traders with clarity and certainty of their obligations so that they can comply. We have made it a priority to educate our taxpayers and traders through various initiatives, one of which being this webinar. If you've just joined us, do not worry. The full recording can be found on our SARS TV YouTube channel. Next on our program will be Kamani Mjali, who will take us through a presentation on third-party appointments and employer reconciliations. Mr. Mjali holds a diploma in taxation from UNISA and a postgraduate diploma in business administrations from the Nelson Mandela University School of Business. He began working at SARS in 2007 at Contact Centre, where he assisted tax practitioner with tax practitioner matters. In 2010, he was appointed as a tax educator responsible, where he was responsible for developing content and expanding the SARS footprint through outreach and education. Over to you, Mr. Mjali.
Good evening. As indicated, my name is Kamani Mjali. I'll be running you through the employer reconciliation on e-filing as well as a third-party appointment tonight. Okay, now our SARS mandate obviously is to collect all revenues due, ensure optimal compliance with tax and customs legislations, provide customs service to optimize revenue, border protection, and facilitate legitimate trade. SARS exists to serve the higher purpose of enabling government to build a capable state that fosters sustainable growth and social development that serves the well-being of all South Africans. Now, the purpose of this presentation is merely to provide a guide. It is ideally designed to make it easy and understandable for employers. The information, therefore, has no binding legal effect, and the relevant legislation must first be consulted in the event of any doubt as to the meaning or applications of any provisions. Now, our vision as SARS is to build a smart, modern SARS with unquestionable integrity, trusted and admired. Our philosophy, based on the theory of compliance, is that we believe that most taxpayers are honest and simply want to fulfill their obligations with the least amount of effort and cost. This therefore means any information that is provided to SARS is then taken at face value from you as the taxpayer. Now, SARS has 9 strategic objectives, but for the purpose of this presentation, we'll be focusing on the first 3, which is to provide clarity and certainty for taxpayers and traders in terms of their tax obligations. We try by all means to make it easy for taxpayers and traders to comply with the tax obligations, as well as to make it as difficult and as hard as possible for those traders who do not comply with the tax affairs. Now, in order to have your functions available, your EMP 501s available on the e-filing platform, one does need to activate the tax types on the e-filing system. Now, in order to activate the tax types on e-filing, one does need to log in on the e-filing. Once you are logged in the top menu pane, the user will then select the organization option. Then once the organization option has been selected, on the left menu pane, you'll then select organization again. Under that organization option, you will then go down and select the tax types. Then you will click manage tax types. Once you've clicked the manage tax types option, The tax types that are available for this particular employer or taxpayer will then be listed in the profile there. You will then have the tick box to select. If the tick box only indicates activate, this therefore means you'll be activating the tax types for the first time. However, should it say tax types active with another taxpayer, this means either a tax practitioner or another taxpayer has access to that particular, to those tax types. You will then tick the tax box. Once the tick box has been selected, you will click submit. Please note that it must indicate that the tax types have been successfully activated in order for the EMP 501 and EMP 201 functions to be available to the e-filer. And then in order to access the return forms on e-filing, one does need to click the returns option at the top menu pane. Once you've selected the returns option, you'll have an option for returns issued in the left menu pane. And once you've if you should then select the returns issued, you will have the option for the employee's tax, either the EMP 201 and the EMP 501. Then, for purposes of this session, we are working on the EMP 501 reconciliation, so you'll select EMP 501. Please note there will also be a drop-down box that will be available for any other periods that you wish to work on for the EMP 501. Then you can request that particular period. Once you've selected the period, you can then click open at the end of the line to open the actual work page. Please note as well, should you open an EMP 501 declaration before the 1st of March, which is the beginning of the employer filing season, for a message will pop up on the screen just to confirm if you are sure that you want to open the EMP 501 before the filing season opens. Please note that the form will only be available in exceptional circumstances where the company is either in liquidation, the company is winding up, insolvency, or in estate cases, or if the company is dormant. And then once you do open the EMP 501, the employer will also have the option to complete the tax certificates as well. If the reconciliation has already been submitted via EasyFile for that particular period, you will also receive a message that indicates that that particular recon period has also been submitted. You can then click on the continue button, will then open up the EMP 501 declaration form, which is then separated into two main headings. The two main headings will be the My Reconciliation Declaration, as well as My Tax Certificates. Now, under each heading, there will be subheadings. So for My Reconciliation Declaration, you'll have the subheadings for employer information, tax practitioner details, if applicable, employment tax incentives, as well as the financial particulars. Please note when you fill out the EMP 501 information, any pane that is highlighted in red does require input from the taxpayer or from the employer. And also note, should anything else still be highlighted in red, your form will not go through. Then if you filled out all the necessary information, all the window panes will then change to a blue color. Then the blue color then indicates to us as well that all the required information has then been submitted under the My Reconciliation Declaration. You will then have the option to go onto the My Tax Certificates. And the My Tax Certificate, the employer will have the option to add a tax certificate to the reconciliation. After selecting the Add Tax Certificate, the employer will then be given the options to add the ID number, the tax reference number, the employee name, as well as the status of the employee as well. Then please note as well, under the My IRP5 certificate, the subheadings there as well will be the employee information, which was just recently reviewed. We'll also have the employer information, the tax certificate information, as well as the employment tax incentive details should the ETI be applicable as well. As with the previous section, all window panes that are highlighted in red will require input from the employer. And please note that all the information must be filled in before the EMP 501 can then be submitted. Then once the tax IRP5 certificate information has been added, all the window panes have then been listed in blue. Employer will then click the Validate button. What the Validate button does then is it gives us the option to ensure that all the information that has been entered in the tax certificate is correct. Then once you click Validate, a message will come up that do you really want to update all the certificates? You will then indicate yes. And then a progress bar will come up that will give us the number of certificates that have been processed, as well as the number of certificates that have been processed successfully. All failed certificates will then need to be amended as well with the required information in order to pass the validation and for those to be successful there as well. And then once the certificates have passed validation successfully, you will then need to click the submit form button. Once you click submit, a declaration page option will come up in order for you to agree with the terms and conditions. Please note that you do need to agree. If you do not agree, then the form cannot be submitted. Once you agree, the form will then successfully be submitted to SARS. Once the submission is done successfully, the last page will, with the confirmation that your return has successfully been submitted, will then come up on your screen, which you then need to click continue in order for your EMP 501 return status to be updated on e-filing. Now, moving on to the third-party appointment, just a few terminologies with the third-party appointments. The AA88, which is the third-party appointment or the agent appointment, or the ITA88, which in essence is just a garnishing order for the employees. We also have an AP34, which is a penalty assessment notice that is issued to the taxpayer who would have outstanding penalties with SARS. We also have AA88 transaction status, which is issued via e-filing. Then those indicate whether the AA88s were defaulted on, were canceled, or if they're finalized. And then any action that is done on the AA88s, then we then issue an AA88R, which is issued monthly. The AA88R indicates the previous month's declarations to the employer. That also indicates the actions that were done for each particular AA88 that was issued. A PRN is a payment reference number. It is a 19-digit long code ensuring that the payment is made specifically to a particular taxpayer or to a particular tax type. Now, SARS, the commissioner of SARS has the power to appoint a person to pay any outstanding tax which is due by the taxpayer out of any money that is held on behalf of the taxpayer. In this instance, this will be the employer. So this therefore means SARS can appoint the employer to withhold any outstanding debt for a particular taxpayer and withhold that money and then pay it over to SARS. Then the AA88, what it is for, an agent appointment is done by appointing a third party, an employer in this instance, as an agent through the issuing of third party appointment notifications where a person holds money on behalf of the taxpayer. Such a third party may be an employer or any other person who holds or owes any money, including pension, salary, wages, or any other remuneration for or to a taxpayer to pay money to SARS in satisfaction to the taxpayer's outstanding tax debt. And then in terms of the Tax Administration Act 28 of 2011, a person receiving the notice must then pay the money in accordance with the notice. And with that particular person parts with the money contrary to the notice, that employer will then be personally liable for the outstanding debt or for the monies due in that particular month. Now, AA88s are issued via the Easy File program. And then in order to download the Easy File program, employers will need to go to either the SARS website or the SARS e-filing website, which is www.sars.gov.za or www.sarsefiling.co.za. Then in order to download to utilize the Easy File program, an employer must have a valid e-filing login name and a username linked to a PAYE number. Then when you action the AA88s, one always needs to be connected to the internet. This is also for submission purposes as well. Then also an employer must be registered for PAYE in order to access those AA88 functions. Now an employer on the Easy File program will be able to receive and view the AA88 letters. They'll be able to bulk print all AA88 letters or the individual AA88 letters. They'll be able to select and submit the outcomes as per the account holder. They'll be able to deduct the stipulated amount from the salary of the respective taxpayer. And then they'll be able to pay over that amount to SARS by the due date indicated on the form there as well. Only in instances where the employer is not able to honor the AA88 will then require reasons on the Easy File program. Then the reasons can be provided on the Easy File program by selecting one of the outcomes from the drop-down list. Or if they cannot utilize the Easy File program, They can contact the contact center or book an appointment via the SARS branch, where an agent will assist the employer in capturing the outcomes. And the employer process, the first step is the employers of the taxpayer will be appointed as the third-party agents. Then they are responsible to deduct the overdue amount from the taxpayer's salary. Then employers will be appointed via the use of the EasyFile employer channel. Then should an employer not have access to the EasyFile program, an email or postal service will then be utilized to send out those notifications. Then just the process flow here. If a taxpayer has overdue debt to SARS, after multiple notices, we then send out a notification through to the employer. The employer will determine if the obligation can be fulfilled. This therefore means if the employer can afford to make the payment. If the employee cannot afford to make the payment, the employer will then send back notification to SARS. SARS then reviews the employer's reasons and then sends a response. Based on the response, the employer then makes the payment. Even if the obligation is met, a payment must be made from the employer. Once a payment is received from the employer, SARS then creates an 8888R, which is a notice assessment, which then is viewed by EasyFile by the employer at the end of the month. On the EasyFile program, employers will be able to synchronize all AA88s. They'll be able to capture the outcomes as well in the third-party appointment screen. They'll be able to submit exceptions back to SARS, and then SARS can then issue a response on those exceptions. Employers will be able to make bulk payments using the payment reference number per employee or per taxpayer. They'll also be able to reconcile monthly with the recon statement there as well. Now moving on to the PAYE administrative penalties. SARS is required to charge an administrative penalty of up to 10% of an employer's tax liability when an employer fails to submit the EMP 501 reconciliation by the due date, which is the 31st of May. Then a separate payment reference number will not be generated for the outstanding recon administrative penalty transaction. However, existing payment allocation rules will apply, namely, payment will be allocated to the payment penalty of 10%, and then the PAYE admin penalty first, and then the interest, and then the tax, and lastly, the understatement penalty there as well. For employees that are levied penalties, a notice of penalty assessment, which is an EMP 301, will then be issued via e-filing, and this can be received via the SARS correspondence menu on the e-filing platform. Then on the e-filing, user will select the letter type, notice of penalty assessment, EMP 301 from the drop-down list. This is what the screen is going to look like on e-filing. On the left-hand menu pane, you'll see SARS correspondence. Then under the correspondence, you'll be able to search correspondence that was issued to that particular employer. And then a list of all the notifications are sent out, and then you will then look out for the EMP 301 for the penalty assessment there as well. Able to view and as well action the EMP, those penalty assessments. We do then promote that all employers go the digital route by making use of our EasyFile platform, registering on e-filing, as well as making use of our SARS online query channels. Please visit us on our social media platforms. We are available on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Then I will now be handing over to Weli Lentlapo, who will then give us the AA88 process via the EasyFile platform. Over to you, Weli.
Thank you, Mr. Mjali. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Weli Lentlapo, and I'm a SARS e-filing and EasyFile technical support consultant for KZN and the Eastern Cape provinces. I'll be taking you through the reconciliation and third-party appointment processes via the EasyFile employer application. As always, please, we would like to encourage that you download the user manuals for both EasyFile employer and EasyFile third-party appointment via the SARS website. To access the EasyFile application, you need to visit www.sarsefiling.co.za. On the landing page, you need to click on the EasyFile employer icon. After you've clicked on the icon, you will then be presented with a page where you can download the application, which is situated in the Windows download pane. After you've clicked on that button to download, kindly follow the prompts to complete the download and installation. After you have installed the EasyFile application, you will then be required to create 3 user profiles on the application. Please note that the first user profile's username will be admin in capital letters, and which is why it is grayed out. And even though you need to create 2 other user profiles, we always advise that you use the admin login credentials to log into your EasyFile application. So I will be going over how to manually create an employer record, how to manually create an employee record, and also how to manually create certificates for employees on their application. So to create an employer record, you first need to click on Employer Admin, View, Edit, Change, and then click on the Add Employer tab. After you have completed the form, click on Update Employer at the bottom of the form. After you have created the employer record, you will then be able to create the employee records. Okay, so then to start this, you need to click on the Employee Admin, View, Edit, Employees option in the menu on the left, and then complete the form that appears with the employee's demographic details, and then save the employee's record. After you have created the employee on the application, you will then be able to now create the certificates manually. After creating the employee record, you then need to click on Add Certificates, which will be situated on the bottom right-hand corner of the page. And then you will then be presented with a blank template for you to complete, or a blank form rather, for you to be able to populate the certificate. After you have populated the certificate with the relevant information, click on the Save Certificate. You can also create the employer records, the employee records, and also the certificates by importing a CSV payroll file into EasyFile. This is very handy, especially if you are a large employer with more than 50 employees. So after you have exported the CSV payroll file from your payroll application, on the left, you then click on Import Export Payroll File. And then you start the process of, and then you follow the prompts of importing the payroll file to EasyFile. So after all certificates have been created or imported into EasyFile, you will then be able to submit the declaration to SARS. So to start the declaration process, you first click on Declaration in the menu on the left, and then select the submission period that you want to submit for, and then request the declaration. After you've clicked on the request button, you will then be presented with 3 options. The first option is to accept SARS data. The second option is to use your own values. And then the third option is to reinstate ETI. If you select the option to accept data, you will then be required to enter in your e-filing login details. I just need to clarify on the option to reinstate ETI. The reinstate ETI option functionality on EasyFile is only applicable if you had included ETI in EMP2, monthly EMP201 submissions for the applicable tax year. So you need to use the reinstate ETI button if you are doing a resubmission when ETI was not included in the initial EMP501 submission. After you have entered in your e-filing login credentials, you will then be presented with the EMP 541 form. If you had accepted SARS figures, the EMP 201 figures that had been submitted to SARS in the applicable tax year will then be auto-populated. Since the biannual submission last year, the payment fields have been locked, which will then reflect all the monthly payments that have been made to SARS in the applicable tax year. Kindly note that we are aware that interest and penalties are included in the payments, and this might cause confusion. Okay, so we encourage that we advise that you rather refer to the pay-as-you-earn statement of account to view the accurate credit or debt that is owed or that is due to the employer. After you have checked the recon and you're happy with the submission and you're ready to submit to SARS, click on File, File and Close, in the top left-hand corner of the declaration. After you have clicked on File, File and Close, you will then be routed back to EasyFile, where you will be required to click on Submit to SARS under the Submission tab. Tick the submission and click on the Submit button. You will then be required to enter your e-filing credentials to submit the recon to SARS. After you have submitted the declaration to SARS, you then need to view the status of the submission. So to view the status of the submission, go to Utilities in the menu on the left, EMP 541 Status Dashboard, locate your submission, and then click on Update. Click on OK in the status update window that will appear. After you've clicked on OK, or after you've clicked on the View button, the status of your submission will then be displayed. There could be instances where one or more certificates within the declaration have failed validation. If that occurs, then SARS will then send the employer correspondence asking them to download an employment taxes validation report, which will indicate to them which certificates have failed validation and for what reasons. So these are the steps for retrieving the employer taxes validation report. So you need to go to Utilities in the menu on the left, and then the 541 EMP 541 status, and then go to the EMP 541 status dashboard in EasyFile Employer. Click on Update next to the relevant submission to retrieve an accepted or rejected status. And ETV feedback will not be available for rejected EMP 541 submissions. So you then need to click on Download Employment Taxes Validation to retrieve the ETV feedback. After you've clicked on the button to download the ETV reports, you will then be required to enter in your e-filing credentials. Then you'd need to click on the View button on the right-hand column to view the ETV report for an EMP 541 submission. So then a report will then be generated, which will then detail which certificates have failed validation and for which reason. You will also be given the opportunity to download the report. We are aware that the current format of the ETV report might be confusing for some. Okay. So if you need to format the report in a way that is easily readable, kindly send us an email to support@sarsefiling.co.za, where we will then send you a list of steps on how you can format the report in a format that is easily readable. Okay, and so now I would now like to go over the third-party appointments functionality on EasyFile. Once again, I encourage you to please download the user manual from the SARS website. So what is very important is that you need to first check that the pay-as-you-earn tax types are active on your e-filing profile. To check this, please click on Organizations in the menu at the top, Tax Types in the menu on the left, and then Manage Tax Types. And then you will then be presented with a list of all the tax types that are either activated or not activated for the taxpayer or the employer. Please make sure that the pay-as-you-earn tax types are activated. You also need to check that your rights group has been set up correctly. You need to check that the applicable rights have been granted within the rights group, and that your username has also been added to the rights group as well. To access the rights group, click on Organizations in the menu at the top, Rights Groups on the left, and then Manage Groups. Okay, after you have checked and made sure that your tax types are activated and that your rights groups have been set up correctly, you can now proceed to EasyFile to start the process of retrieving third-party appointment information from SARS via EasyFile. So you need to click on the third-party appointments tab in the menu on the left. Then under the third-party transaction and monetary informations tab, you then need to click on the Clear Local AA88 Data button to clear the database of AA88's or third-party appointment data from a previous synchronization. So this is a new functionality that has been added to the most recent update of the application. So it is very important that you first start by clearing all third-party appointment information or data from the application first before you proceed with anything else. After the third-party appointment or AA88 data has been cleared, you then need to click on Synchronize Application in the Utilities menu to retrieve the latest third-party appointment data. So after you've clicked on the option to synchronize your application, you will then be presented with four options. If it is the first time you are synchronizing your application with SARS, you will only be able to select the All option, which is the last option on the list. If you have synchronized your application before, then you will be able to synchronize specifically for letters and correspondences, which includes third-party appointments or AA88 notices. After you've started the synchronization process, you will then be presented with a progress bar to show you the progress of the synchronization. After the synchronization has been completed, you will then notice that there will be a pop-up on the bottom right-hand corner of the application that notifies you that of the AA88 transactions that have been received from SARS. After you have completed the synchronization, you need to go to the Notification Center in the menu on the left. It is the first option on the menu on the left. It is very important that you start by going to the Notification Center first and opening up the third-party appointment or AA88 notifications sent to the taxpayer or the employer first. If that is not done, the third-party appointment information will not be then transferred to the functionality of the application, where you will be able to view detailed AA88 information. So you need to click on the notification center under home and the top left of the menu on the left. This page will display a list of all employers linked to your e-filing profile with a number of various new letter types available. You then need to select the relevant employer from the list displayed to view the available correspondences. Once you select an employer from the list, and if new AA88 information is available, a single AA88 notice will be displayed with a processed unread status, and the AA88 details transferred to the third-party appointments menu. A pop-up message will display when the process is completed. So the details of the third-party appointment updates will not be displayed in the notification center anymore. The details will be viewed in the third-party appointments menu. So it's important that you first, like I said earlier on, it's very important that you view the notifications first for all that information to then be transferred to the third-party appointment menu on the application. The archive button gives the employer the option to archive selected notices in the notification center. These notices can be restored again at any time by clicking on Restore. All archive notices will be populated so that the user can select and restore. So in the first option, under the third-party appointments menu would be the third-party transaction and monetary informations tab. This tab contains a summary of all third-party appointment transactions since the inception of the pay-as-you-earn number or the employer. The tab will then have an indicator, a synchronization indicator that will indicate if your application is in sync with SARS or not. So we are aware that there will be some instances where after you have synchronized your application, the indicator stays red, indicating that you're not in sync with SARS. Okay, but we still advise that you proceed with trying to retrieve the AA88 or third-party data. Okay, so these are the different items under the third-party transaction and monetary information tab. Issued AA88, this line represents the total number of AA88 or third-party appointment transactions that have been issued against the pay-as-you-earn number since its inception of AA88s on EasyFile. Completed AA88s or third-party appointments, this line represents the total number of completed AA88 transactions. Cancelled, this line represents the total number of AA88 transactions with a cancelled status. Finalized, this represents the total number of AA88 transactions with the finalized status. Active AA88s is the total number of active AA88 transactions. Not yet due, this is the total number of AA88 transactions with an issued status against the pay-as-you-earn number. And overdue or default, this line represents the total number of AA88 transactions with a defaulted status against the pay-as-you-earn number. So the third-party appointments and under the third-party appointments and cancellations tab, this item will display AA88 details. You need to select the third-party appointments and cancellations tab. This page will include all taxpayers with third-party appointments or AA88s. A status column reflects whether a taxpayer still has active third-party appointments or if all transactions have been completed. There are various search and filter options which enable users to locate specific transactions. And you'll see that in the latest version of the application that you can now...
Excuse me, Willie. Sorry, may I just interrupt you? We seem to have lost our sign language interpreter, Mr. Nkosi Vile. Apologies to the attendees. Please be patient with us while our sign language interpreter reconnects.
Program director, may I continue, or should we wait for the interpreter?
I think let's just give it a couple of seconds, Wedile. I believe he should be reconnecting. If not, I will give you the go-ahead.
Thank you.
You may continue, Wedile.
Thank you, program director. Okay, so now you will also be able to search for third-party appointments using the transaction number. That is a filter option that has been added in the most recent version of the application of EasyFile. So to view the third-party appointment details for a taxpayer, you need to select the taxpayer from the list displayed, or use the search and filter functions to locate the specific taxpayer. So click on Details in the right of the screen to display the details, or click on Print to generate an individual AA88 letter. Then you need to select the relevant transactions on the left, and then click on the bulk print button to generate individual AA88s or third-party appointment letters for employees. Now let's discuss the outcomes. All right. So before we continue with the outcomes, it's very important to note that the only outcomes that need to be communicated to SARS or submitted to SARS are only of instances where an employer is not able to make a deduction or deductions from the employee's salary, okay? This is indicated on the third-party appointment notice. For instance, if the employee is no longer employed, if the employee has requested affordability, or if the employee is deceased, etc. The employment confirmed outcome must not be submitted using the submit button. The employment confirmed button is only used when you need to export to payroll file or make payment when making a bulk payment via EasyFile employer. Okay, let's go over the various outcomes. So employment confirmed. This is where the employer accepts responsibility for the deductions. The third-party appointment transaction stays active, which then awaits payment. Not employed, this is where the employer indicates that the employee is no longer employed or is unknown to the employer. The employer is then permitted to reject the third-party appointment. Request affordability. The employer indicates that the taxpayer or the employee will not be able to afford the full amount that has been requested. And SARS will use the employee's RP5 information to calculate new affordability terms. For more information regarding the affordability or requesting affordability, kindly visit the SARS website or book a telephonic engagement with the branch or contact our call center. Okay, so taxpayer estates deceased. The employer indicates that the taxpayer is deceased. In this instance, once again, the employer is permitted to reject the third-party appointment. Taxpayer estate insolvent. The employer indicates that the taxpayer is insolvent, and the employer is once again permitted to reject the A88 appointment. So you need to use the drop-down list in the outcomes column and then select the relevant outcome for each taxpayer that is listed. So once all outcomes are updated, the relevant deductions must be applied. Deductions can be added to a payroll manually or by exporting a file from EasyFile to import into the payroll software that the employer uses. Then to start this process, you need to click on Export to Payroll File at the top of the table and then click on Yes to confirm. Alternatively, you can choose specific transaction that may be selected on the left to include in the Export to Payroll file. And then you would then need to enter a file name and indicate where you would like to save the CSV file on your computer and then save. After the deductions are processed on your payroll system, you will then be able to generate an export file on your payroll software to update the outcome status on EasyFile after you have imported the CSV file, the payroll file back into EasyFile. To do this, you need to click on Import from Payroll File to start the process. Then select the relevant file and then click on Open to import. EasyFile will then update the taxpayer's outcomes as affected by the imported file from the payroll system. Selected taxpayer records to submit to SARS by clicking on the blocks on the left of each listing and then click on Submit. And just as a reminder, these are the employees where you can't where the employer is not able to make any deductions from the employees. So then a summary of the outcomes for transactions included in submission will then be displayed. If you agree with the summary, click on Continue or click on Cancel to edit outcomes selected for submission. A message will then appear, which will warn you that outcomes cannot be reversed electronically once submitted to SARS. Click on I understand, continue to continue, or click on cancel if you still need to make some amendments. So as soon as SARS has successfully processed the request, SARS will respond to EasyFile Employer with an updated AA88 or third-party appointment with updated third-party appointments after synchronization. Updates for affordability requests should be available within 24 to 48 hours. If not, all AA88 third-party appointments were included when outcomes were selected and submitted. You will receive a warning message. Click on OK to proceed or click on Cancel to select the relevant outcomes prior to submission. Okay, so let's go on to making bulk payments via EasyFile. EasyFile Employer will enable you to process bulk payments through the e-filing ad hoc payment option. The option allows an employer to make a single payment for third-party appointments while creating a separate receipt for each employee. This also allows SARS to allocate the appropriate amount of single payments to each of the employees' income tax accounts. Once you have selected the Manage Payment button, the system will prompt you to select the items to pay, as well as indicate the payment method. If you select Credit Push, you then need to capture your bank user profile details and the account number field, and then afterwards you need to follow the normal SARS e-filing Credit Push payment screens as prompted. After your e-filing login credentials have been verified, the bulk payment batches screen will appear and details of the payments to be authorized. At the bottom of the screen, click on the link, click here to capture payment details. The payment batch summary will display the total payments required. Click on the confirmation payment button to finalize the payment process. To view the status of your payments, go back to the third-party appointments cancellation screen and view the outcome. So should you default on an agent appointment, should you default on an agent appointment, the transaction will be listed on the A88 default tab under the agent appointments menu. You're also able to initiate bulk payments via EasyFile. To do this, after you have exported your CSV file, click on Organizations. First, locate the employer on your e-filing profile. Then click on Organizations in the menu at the top. Click on Payments in the menu on the left, Bulk Payments, and then Upload File. This brings me to the conclusion of my presentation. I know that there has been a lot of information that has been spoken about on the presentation so far that I've shared with you in this presentation. So if you have any questions, or if you need some assistance on e-filing and the e-filing and the EasyFile application, you are welcome to send us an email, support@sarsefiling.co.za. I'd like to hand over back to the program director.
Thank you, Welile and Mr. Mjali, for the comprehensive presentations, which I believe will make compliance easier for employers and third parties. A tip for employers on using EasyFile: you are free to download the latest EasyFile version on your computer and use it offline to import and validate declarations. You only must go online to submit returns, reconciliations, tax certificates, and to action agent appointments. Please note that the webinar is live on 2 platforms, Zoom and on our SARS TV YouTube channel. The Zoom platform can only accommodate up to 2,000 attendees, and therefore the overflow will be directed to the YouTube channel. The full recording can be found on our SARS TV YouTube channel. We noticed the numerous requests for the presentations. They will be uploaded on the SARS website at the end of the webinar. I will now be handing over to Nwabisa Bidla, who will be facilitating the Q&A section together with other subject experts. Nwabisa began her career with SARS in 2006 as a contact center agent and is now an operations manager in the tax-based broadening and education division. She has a Bachelor of Commerce honors in industrial and organizational psychology from the University of South Africa, as well as a Bachelor of Social Science in industrial and organizational psychology from the University of Cape Town. Nwabisa is deeply committed to taxpayer service and education. Nwabisa, over to you.
Thank you, Program Director. It's a wonderful privilege to be part of this webinar, which aims to provide clarity on the third-party appointment and employer reconciliation processes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to thank you for the questions that we have received thus far through the chat box and the email address. Your questions do assist us to improve our processes and your taxpayer experience, as we are committed to making it easy for all our taxpayers and traders to comply with their tax obligations. Ladies and gentlemen, as the program director has indicated, I am here to facilitate the Q&A session, but I'm not here alone. I do have a panel of experts with me. Tim, I'm going to ask that you please switch on your video when I call your name and keep it on for the duration of the Q&A session. Our panel of experts are Ayanda Takela, Ayanda Tagela is a support manager for SARS e-filing and EasyFile. You are welcome, Ayanda. We also have Melanie Nell. Melanie Nell is a specialist in engineering and business design. Welcome, Melanie. We have Zukile Zaulana, who is an educator for tax-based broadening and education. Welcome, Zukile. We also have Kamani Mjali, who we saw earlier doing a presentation for us. Kamani is also an educator for tax-based broadening and education. Welcome back, Kamani. Lastly, we have Welly Lentlapo. Welly Lentlapo, who also did the presentation for us, is technical consultant for EasyFile and e-filing, supporting the KZN and EC regions. Welcome, Welly. Ladies and gentlemen, please note that you are most welcome to continue sending your questions on the chat box or via the email address stated above as employerquestions@sars.gov.za. Also, please note that this email address is only open for the duration of this webinar and will be closed immediately after this session. Now we will proceed to the questions that we have received from our taxpayers. Our first question reads as follows. I've tried updating my EasyFile employer application, but I get the following error. Sorry, an error has occurred. The application cannot be installed due to a certificate problem. The certificate does not match the installed application certificate, does not support application upgrades, or is invalid. Please contact the application author. Welile, can you assist with the response?
Thank you, Nwabisa. Okay, so when you encounter this error, you first need to back up your EasyFile database first. That's if you are able to access your current database. After you've done that, you need to uninstall the EasyFile application, Adobe Air, and Azul Zulu JRE. Uninstall those applications via your computer's control panel, then download EasyFile via the SARS e-filing website. If you encounter this error when you're trying to update your EasyFile application, and if you are able to log into your application, like I said earlier on, it is always advisable that you back up your database first before embarking on the steps mentioned.
Thank you, Welile. I was informed that I cannot generate the EMP 501 return because there were no returns issued for the company. The company was only registered for pay-as-you-earn in 2023-02, where only 1 month's return was submitted. I've now submitted nil returns for every month from March 2022 till the end of the period, just to see if this will allow me to generate a return. I still get the error. The error reads as follows. EMP5 pre-pop failed. Error 0001. Your request for an EMP 501 reconciliation cannot be processed as you have not submitted the required EMP 201 returns. The reconciliation period. A letter has been sent to inform you of the next steps. Melanie, can you assist us on this question? Are you able to hear me, Melanie?
Yes, Nwabisa. Liability dates from which employers are right?
Yes, we can hear you, Melanie. You may continue.
Okay. So as I was saying, to submit EMP 201 returns are taken into consideration when the system checked to ensure that the employer submitted all the relevant EMP 201 returns for the requested reconciliation period. A possible reason for this error could be a timing issue, either if the registration and the request for the EMP 501 happens at the same time, or if the EMP 201 submitted were not processed before the 501 was requested. Please wait at least 24 hours to request the EMP 501 reconciliation again. If the problem persists, please send your page and number to us so that we can investigate this problem for you.
Thank you, Melanie, for that comprehensive response. Please advise the AA88's clear data button is not working, and I'm receiving old AA88s. Ayanda, can you assist with the question?
Thank you, Nwabisa. I surely can. So we introduced a new functionality on EasyFile this filing season to clear old AA88 data, which is the Clear AA88 Data button in the online transaction for third-party appointments. If this button for Clear AA88 Data option seems to have not cleared the old data, please contact us so that we can assist you, and the email address is support@sarsefiling.co.za. We may end up providing you with a blank database to synchronize the received for you to receive new AA88s on this database. And all these steps will be provided to the user to ensure that they do not lose their current database, which they're working on, which has their reconciliation and certificate information on it. I also want to take this opportunity to mention that we do have Yolanda Shole, who's one of our e-filing and EasyFile technical consultants, whom I'm sure you have noticed is attending to your EasyFile queries on the live chat, as well as the questions and on the questions on the live. We do recognize that some of the answers we will be providing this evening are very technical, and she will post them on the live chat as we do go along. Thank you, Nwabisa.
Thank you very much, Ayanda, for that reassurance. Moving on to our next question. My forms viewer is hanging with the 3 dots in EasyFile. Ayanda, please assist with the question.
Okay. This can be corrected by logging onto EasyFile and navigating to the system configuration, which is available under utilities in your EasyFile software. You will then click on the install button that is next to the EasyFile Forms Viewer application path. Once the Forms Viewer download is completed, the installation should continue automatically. Then you will click on OK and close the Forms Viewer. I do trust that Yolanda has been posting these answers as we go along, but I'm sure she will do it eventually, because we do understand the technicality of the answers that we're providing tonight. Thank you, Nwabisa.
Thank you very much, Ayanda. Database error 1009 or 3138 in EasyFile. What does this error mean, Welile?
Thank you, Nwabisa. So this means that the employer's record or an employee's record has been corrupted on the database. And this usually occurs when you are trying to switch between employers on your database. If this happens, then you need to remove the employer record from your current database and then merge the same employer from an older database into your current database. So these are the steps on that you need to follow. First, you need to back up your current EasyFile database first, right, before you follow the steps. So on your on your computer, please go to My Computer and go to your C drive. Then click on Users, then select your name or the name, the profile that you're using on your computer. Then go to App Data, then click on Roaming, and then go to EasyFile Employer, the file that's labeled EasyFile Employer with the long, followed by the random characters. And then go to the local store, open it, and then look for the pay-as-you-earn number that is problematic, then delete it, and then open EasyFile that was previously taken before the error occurred. Then click on Utilities, Database Utilities, and then Merge Database. And then you need to ensure that you restore a backup that has been saved. Oh, sorry. I'm just mixing up here. So sorry. Okay, so that is the process that needs to be followed. But as Ayanda had pointed out, we do realize that it might be quite technical. So if you need assistance, you are welcome to send us an email at support@sarsefiling.co.za.
Thank you very much, Welile, for that detailed answer and for providing the email address to further assist our taxpayers. I get the below error when restoring database. SQL error 3123, details, operation open. Ayanda, please can you assist us?
Thank you, Nwabisa. So the SQL error occurs when the user is restoring a database that is saved on a server or a cloud application. So it's important that they back up their easy file onto their desktop or local documents. When you restore the backup, please ensure that you restore a backup that has been saved on your local drive. So by local drive, I mean that this is on your desktop or your normal documents and not a backup that is restored to a server or a cloud application. Thank you, Nwabisa.
Thank you very much, Ayanda. Amani, can we bring you in on this question? User has submitted their recon for 2022, and after the submission gets a SARS generated letter, recon failed balancing. Can you assist us, please?
On the reconciliation process, employers must understand that it is a calculation of all your monthly EMP 201 declarations, your UIF declarations, your SDL declarations, as well as your PAYE payments. Now, on the EMP 2501, all those figures should tally up with what you declared on the monthly 201 declarations. Should there be any differences in terms of the figures, then the error will come up that your recon failed balancing. Now, you do need to indicate a reason as to why your recon is not balancing, should you have a valid reason, or if any adjustments need to be made to a particular period in order to account for the non-balancing, you do need to amend a particular period as well. So all your recon periods must tally up with the monthly EMP 201 declarations.
Thank you, Amani. I'm having problems sorting out an error when resubmitting EMP 501. One of the IRP5s needed to be rectified and the EMP 501 resubmitted. But I'm not getting help. Why am I getting an error or what to do? I forwarded the screenshots to the tax consultants, but have had no help. Can you assist and get someone to help? I have contacted the call center 8 times today with no help. Can you please assist us, Welile, on this one?
Okay. So first you need to try and remove the pending submission under the Submit to SARS tab, okay? If after you've removed the pending submission and if the issue still persists after you've done that, then try to submit the declaration via a separate or a blank database. If the issue still persists after you've tried to submit on a blank database, then kindly please send us an email to the support box so that we can send a request to have the pending submission removed from the system. Please, within your escalation, please include the following details: a full screenshot of the error, your e-filing username, not your password, please, and then the pay-as-you-earn number that you are trying to submit for and the submission period that you are trying to submit for.
Thank you very much, Welile. I'm not able to view my IT88 on EasyFile. I am on the latest version of EasyFile. It keeps on telling me I'm out of sync after I have synchronized with SARS. Welile, can you help us with this query?
Okay, so firstly, you need to, I would encourage that you update your EasyFile to the latest version, which is 7.3.4, and then try and then go to third-party appointments, and then click on the clear data button under the second tab, which is third-party appointments and cancellations. If the issue still persists, then you would then need to try and synchronize from a blank database. But as I had mentioned in my presentation, that we are aware that the indicator button might stay red even though you are in sync with SARS, and then you need to, after synchronizing, proceed to third-party appointments and cancellations to view the third-party appointment details for the employees.
Thank you very much, Welile. After trying to update the latest EasyFile, the installation bombs out and I cannot get back into EasyFile Employer. This happened last year as well, and the client got a massive penalty because we could not get EasyFile Employer to actually work. Ayanda, could you address this for us?
Thank you, Nwabisa. So this could be a Java issue where there's an incorrect version of Java that the user is working on that is not compatible with the current version of EasyFile, or the database that the user is working on is actually corrupt. So what we firstly recommend is that if they have a previous version, a previous EasyFile backup, they need to restore this backup. So this option is available on the EasyFile login menu, where they'll be able to click on the restore button and they'll be able to search for where that backup is on their PC. And then if this error still persists, then we recommend that they uninstall EasyFile on the control panel and reinstall the application from the SARS e-filing website and make sure that they accept the Azul Java version, which is the correct one for the current version that comes with the EasyFile installation. But as always, we will be able to assist them with the uninstall or reinstall because we understand the technicalities thereof. Thank you, Nwabisa.
Thank you. I'm unable to download AA88, nor am I able to retrieve any third-party instructions. While trying to synchronize with e-filing, the system hangs. Under e-filing, no third-party appointments are shown. Appointments are shown. Please, can you assist Welile?
Thank you. An alternative for viewing, for downloading and viewing third-party appointments other than e-filing would be EasyFile. Right, so download EasyFile, the latest version. Then after creating your login credentials, click on synchronize. Click on the synchronize application tab, which is on the menu on the left, and then go to the notification center, locate and open the third-party appointment notifications for the pay-as-you-earn number, changing the status from issued to red. Then click on the third-party appointments tab, then go to the third-party appointments and cancellations tab to view the third-party appointments. If you have issues downloading and viewing third-party appointments on e-filing, once again, kindly send us an email to support@sarsefiling.co.za so that an escalation can be sent.
Thank you, Welile. I have clients with employees who only pay UIF as their income is below the threshold. SARS e-filing does not allow the issuing of an IRP5 for the employee without a personal income tax number, as these employees are not registered for personal income tax as they earn below the tax threshold. How do we issue these IRP5s? Ayanda?
Thank you, Nwabisa. So the employer can request for tax numbers for the employees, even in the case where they are under the threshold, as a tax number is actually mandatory. We have the single registration option on EasyFile that can be used, where they can access it by selecting employee admin and then bundled IT reg, where they'll enter the employee's information, submit it back on EasyFile, and then they'll be able to retrieve those tax numbers. So once again, it is a process that we can assist our taxpayers with. They must make sure to contact us and we'll definitely assist them with that. Thank you, Nwabisa.
Thank you, Ayanda. Moving on to our next question. I keep receiving notifications that there is a third-party appointment, but never receive the details on EasyFile or by email. This is extremely difficult as we do not know who the party involved is. Surely this can be made available on e-filing. When I've queried it with the call center, they cannot give any information. Please advise. Welile, can you assist?
Thanks, Nwabisa. So so they need to update their EasyFile application to the latest version and then go to the the Clear Local A88 data button that's within that functionality on EasyFile. But I'd also need to mention that the majority of the time, if you're not able to retrieve your third-party appointment data, it is because you did not go to the notification center to read the notifications after you have synchronized. So that is very important. If you have clicked on Clear Local A8 data in the third-party appointments tab on EasyFile, and after you have read or opened those notifications, and if that issue still persists, then please try to synchronize on a separate or blank database. So please send us an email so we can send you the steps on how to restore a blank database and how to synchronize from the blank database.
Thank you very much, Welile. We are unable to access AA88s for staff members since September 2020. We have communicated with SARS with no resolution as yet, no emails attached due to previous delivery error. The message you sent to aa88@sars.gov.za couldn't be delivered due to recipient email server rejected the message. Ayanda, can you assist us with this question, please?
Thank you, Nwabisa. So this taxpayer used the incorrect email address for support. The email address that is correct to use is support@sarsefiling.co.za. And to address the out of sync issue, this was already addressed in the presentation with Welile. So if they still have issues, they are more than welcome to email us in terms of the out of sync. But I think that was clarified at the presentation. Thank you, Nwabisa.
Thank you, Ayanda. Zukile, if we may bring you in as well, kindly advise who I can speak to regarding submissions of IT3B and changing the user access to do this. The employees who previously submitted this is no longer with the company, and we are struggling to do this submission. If someone can please call so we can finalize this matter. Can you assist us, please?
Thank you, Nwabisa. Firstly, the person that is trying to do the submission, he or she must be the registered representative, meaning that he or she must be appointed as the representative of the company. If he or she is not appointed as a representative, he or she can be able to do an appointment with SARS on our SARS website, book an appointment, then we will be able to link that person as the representative. Then immediately when she or he is linked as a representative, then on e-filing, the company will be linked on her or his profile. Then after that has been done, he or she has to activate the IT3 on e-filing under managed tax types. Then only when she will be able to submit. The ways of submitting, we can use the following platforms depending on the size of the data. You can do the submission via the Connect Direct for bulk data. You can do HTTPS for medium-sized data, or e-filing for IT3 or one form to the maximum of 20. That is all done on e-filing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zukile. What should I do when my EMP 501 reconciles, but there's a refund due because a taxpayer paid more for one or two EMP 201 returns, and that amount was for penalties and interest for late payments? Welile, can you assist on this one?
So we are aware that interest and penalties are sometimes included or are included in the locked payment fields on the EMP 501, and this can cause some confusions. Please note that you need to refer to the pay-as-you-earn statement of account for an accurate pay-as-you-earn debt or credits due to the employer. To inquire if a credit can be refunded, kindly liaise with the SARS Contact Centre or send an email to contact us at sars.gov.za or book a telephonic engagement with the branch.
Thank you very much, Welile. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of our Q&A session. We thank you all for the questions that we have received through the chat box and our email address, as these questions help us to build our FAQs. And we hope that the answers given today have provided more clarity on the topic. Thank you, and back to you, Program Director.
Colleagues, thank you for your prompt responses to the questions received. To our audience, if your question has not been answered, please look out for the frequently asked questions on the SARS website for the response to your question. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our webinar, and I would like to thank you for your time and participation. I hope that this webinar has met your expectations. Before we close, I would also like to thank the speakers, panelists, organizers, and IT team for their contributions towards the webinar. Once again, the presentations shared can be found on the SARS website, and the webinar recording can be viewed on our SARS TV YouTube channel. We love interacting with you, so please follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn for exciting and informative content. Remember to like, comment, and share. For the audience joined via the Zoom platform, you will be directed to the survey as soon as you exit the platform. Please remember to complete the survey. Your participation would be highly appreciated. Look out for our next webinar, and remember, your tax matters. Good night.
Fellow South Africans, I'm addressing you this evening.
All your years of paying tax, you helped us overcome our darkest hour. You, along with every other loyal taxpayer, helped build this nation. Thank you for every life you saved and for every risk you braved, for giving our future generation a healthy start. When you saw many of our vulnerable communities, you provided for them. When you saw our healthcare workers on the front lines battling COVID, you rose to the occasion and gave them the tools to save lives. Without your tax compliance, we wouldn't be able to fight a good fight. Thank you for contributing to the important services our vulnerable communities rely on every day. To all taxpayers and traders, continue to pay your tax because it matters to millions of South Africans who depend on it. Your tax matters.